I'm Michele Granberg. Welcome to Positive Energy, where we explore wellness, spirituality, and positive thinking. I'm so excited to bring this show to you. So many amazing guests are coming, so many fascinating topics to discuss. Today, we are talking about shamanism. And I'm very pleased to welcome my special guest, Don Julio Arboleda. He is an Andean shaman and a shamanic Reiki practitioner. So, welcome, Don Julio.
No, thank you. Thank you for your invitation. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
I'm glad to have you. And, we know one another, so this is not our first time meeting, which is nice. And just to let others know that we know each other because of my center, which is Center for Relaxation and Healing, and you've come there graciously and offered and facilitated workshops on shamanism as well as private sessions there. And I have a personal interest in shamanism myself. It really resonates for me. Mm-hmm. I don't know as much about it, but I've definitely explored it for a very long time, both as a spiritual practice and as a healing practice. And I know there are many people out there who are not very familiar with shamanism. So I thought this would be a great way to help people understand a little bit more about it, about the nature of shamanism, why it's beneficial. I personally think it's very powerful in many ways. So maybe we could start there with the basics. If
Sure.
you could, what is your definition, or how do you explain shamanism to folks who don't know anything at all about it?
Okay, the easy or the simpler way of explaining what shamanism is, it's a connection with the spiritual world. It's transcending this physical activity or this physical being,
Right.
or this reality, or what we call reality, and just to transcend and go beyond that point,
Right.
and actually access what we call energy. We call energy, according to Reiki masters, and we call spiritual work according to shamans. So a shamanism will be the practice to access, to transcend, to go beyond this physical plane and explore the mind, the spirit, and the body. So these three putting together and try to reach that field of energy. And the shamans believe, and that field of energy is the knowledge, is the advice.
There's so much beyond the physical world, and that's what this teaches us in this very, very, very ancient practice. And I want people to know it's not that mystical or mysterious. It is natural and it's available. And shamans, one of their main methods, as you're saying, is they can access this spirit world, this other world, this unseen world through altered states. And altered states themselves, altered states of consciousness, are not that mystical or mysterious. We really do go in and out of those all the time. So say a little bit more about shamanism's history, how old it is, if you know, where, how long has it been practiced?
Well, because there's no written record, because shamans, they transmit their knowledge, they transmit their wisdom, word of mouth.
Verbally, right, word of mouth.
And also for what we call transmission. They transmit from generation to generation. It's the direct transmission. It's kind of, it says, my knowledge now, I'm going to give it to you, and you is going to give it to somebody else in the future.
Got it.
So it's a transmission of that. Because there's no written record, but it's believed that shamans exist for ancient times. So thousands of years.
I did see a number on the internet that said 20,000 years ago, but you're right, no one really knows, because who was there to pinpoint and say, okay, we're starting this now, so there's really no way of knowing that. But it's interesting because here it is today. Here we are in our modern world so many, many years later. And not only is it thriving, it exists, it's thriving, it's even, I would say, from what I observe, increasing in popularity and in interest.
Definitely.
More and more people are taking it on as a path, and even as a, I don't want to say a career, but as as a way of doing service, but also a way of earning a living in that way. So it's interesting. So can you tell me any more about where shamanism was and is practiced in terms of parts of the world? I think people often associate shamanism only with Native American spirituality, you know, those who were here in this country, Native Americans, but that's not the case. There's shamanism in many forms, in many broad forms across many cultures. So
yes, it's exactly what you are saying, that shamanism exists in every culture,
right.
all around the world, from Australia to Alaska to the Americas, to the Aborigines in Australia, and even in Siberia. Actually, the term shaman is a term that came from Siberia.
Right.
And
is there a translation for that? Do you
probably
know?
is a translation.
I mean, it refers to healer, medicine person,
yes,
leader, sort of.
All of that,
right,
because
right,
a definition of shaman will be very wide definition. Shaman is a healer. Shaman is a master, is a teacher, is a priest, is a doctor. So it's everything in a community. So according to the community, shamans exist for me from the beginning of times,
right.
since the man started wondering about nature and acquiring more knowledge. And I think from ancient times, thousands of years ago, shamanism was there, and the shamans served the community. And you mentioned about the spread of shamanism around the world, and it depends on different culture. And lately, it seems like it's a lot of interest in the wisdom of these ancient people, of these Aborigines, and in every single culture around the world. So now it's more interested. So actually, that wisdom resides for so many years, and now we have the choice to get access to go in there and absorb
it's like
that wisdom.
Things are coming full circle in some ways, it seems like, and it reminds us that wisdom is wisdom, truth is truth. Yes. If it was then, if it worked then, of course it's still working today, because it goes back to some basic principle that is really true. So, you know, and I know that also people are more interested in the combination of mind, body, and spirit, and treating mind, body, and spirit, and understanding that we're a whole being in that way, especially the spiritual component that has been ignored for so long. And shamanism has always directed itself, you know, towards all of those aspects of a person in terms of understanding them and in terms of them healing, and maybe why they might not heal. So, you know, you're part of this, not just a trend, but you know, some signal about what's happening maybe in a larger context. So do you know anything further about, you know, where shamans are practicing today? You're right here in New Jersey, you're practicing. Do you know of others, and where there might be more pockets, and maybe out west, southwest, or I know you don't have any, you know, hard facts on that. I'm not expecting any, so that's good.
Yes, well, I just mentioned that shamans exist all over the world. So, and according to the community, and there are shamans in the Amazons in Brazil, there are shamans in the jungles of Indonesia. It depends of how they evolve and how they become more exposure to the new society. And here in America, obviously, the last since Carlos Castaneda, so it was a time.
He made it more. He brought it out to a more visible level, and he wrote books. Was that in the 60s? I'm not
During
sure.
During the 60s, yes. So he was the one that actually introduced all this terminology, all these methods, all this healing and these connections to what we call the other world, or the invisible world.
Well, let's talk more specifically now about shamans and the work they do, and the tools they use, and some of the methods that they use. So what are some of, we have some here, but first, you know, what are some of the main traditional tools that shamans use, and also as important, why do they work? What's the components or the essence, the organizing structure of that in terms of why it works? Okay,
excellent question. And again, depends of the culture, depends of the community, depends of the geographical area of the region. They may use tools that are more common for them.
Right.
And for me, I'm more familiar with the shamanism in the Andes. So I'm from Ecuador, And so I'm more familiar with that kind of region, that
Okay.
shamanism was practiced in that area, including the upper Amazon. So I have some here, some that we call tools, just simple tools.
Yeah.
The drum
People
is
know what
very
these
ancient.
are, but you use them in a very different way than just
Yes.
to beat a drum or just to shake a rattle. There's a reason for all of that.
And so this is the one of probably the first tools that the shamans they use, because it's very simple, and also the sound, and they have the maraca, and this actually is from East Asia. So different. This is from Peru, and also they can use music, and actually they call icaros. So icaro is just a specific sound just to invoke those spirits
Right.
that are out there in order to help in our healing process. And it's very simple to use it. And they have also this instrument. These are just tools that are part of the ritual. The ritual of what? The
Right.
ritual of getting into this healing process, because it's a
Right.
process. It's not one single
Right.
event. It's a
Right.
process with many perspectives. I have also they use plants. I have just a very simple mint that many uses, and of course there are hundreds of plants that they call medicinal plants, and also we have or shamans they use what is called the sacred plants, like the ayahuasca. There are these sacred plants are more kind of altering the subconscious mind, altering the mind, are more psychedelic thing. The sage is well known for Native Americans, and also is used for the same kind of ritual, for cleansing, to bring the spirits around in this process of healing someone.
Right.
And,
So that's beautiful in terms of the sage. And they use the smoke. It's the smoke
Yes,
that they
it's
say there's
smudging.
something about the essence of the smoke that is cleansing and purifying. And to go back to the sounds of all of these, because you mentioned energy. So, I mean, sound healing is sort of a field in and of itself right now, independent of anything else. And as a therapeutic tool, they have all of this scientific research saying that it is sound, something about the vibration and the tone, the way it carries the mind. It brings people into a deeper state of relaxation, an altered state themselves, and the energy of the sound itself, people's energy, their life force, what's within them, joins with the sound. Is that
Yes.
sort of
Yes, exactly. And,
how it works?
And musicians, well know that the frequency, the sound, mesmerize
Right.
the composer, the musician, and of course, is something in there. And then shamans believe that that kind of vibration, that kind of frequency, is waking up the spirit. Our spirit, the healer spirit, the shaman spirit,
wake-up call to
is
the
a wake-up
spirit. I
call.
love that.
And it's involving, and it says the surrounding
It's
is like a
engaging.
mesmerizing,
It
engaging,
engages the
is
spirit. Yeah, I love
inviting
it.
to this moment, the moment of what? The moment of healing. And one element that sometimes we miss in this, because sometimes, Western, we try to see the physical thing,
Right.
and we don't kind of maybe transcend more than that, is the intention that we put in it.
Yes, very important.
You may say psychological, but actually is more kind of spiritual.
Right.
Involves the psychological part, but is spiritual. The intent to
Right.
heal. The only purpose of a shaman is doing all these rituals, using all these tools,
Right.
is the intent.
Right.
And the intent comes from your heart.
Right, right.
The intent right inside of your heart. The intent of taking the patient as a whole. You mentioned before that we try to separate what is physical, what is psychological, what is emotional, and what is spiritual. And actually, for a shaman, it takes the whole thing. You cannot be separate. You cannot divide these areas, these different aspects of the human existence.
Right.
Because if you have a physical thing, shamans believe that the root is probably was something that was emotional,
Right.
so or psychological,
Right.
or even spiritual. Something that transcends. Sometimes people, when we talk about the spiritual, they think about religion. Actually, it's nothing to do with religion. Mm-hmm. Spiritual means that inner self,
Right.
that something inside of you that transcends your emotional, your psychological, your physical being.
So let's because the term intention is used in many ways. It's used in very common ways, and I use the term intention constantly because I believe it is the ground of everything. It's the cause of everything is intention. Yes. But not everybody's familiar with it in the context in which we're using it. Intention is when something inside of us declares. Either a practitioner might declare it within the context of a session, or a person might declare it. It's their outcome, it's their hope, it's their wish. And when they get behind that, that really sets the tone for what is about to happen, such that without that, when that is missing, it could just be empty action or empty ritual. Just the beating of a drum or just the lighting of a candle alone without intention isn't infused with the power of something shifting. And it reminds us of how powerful we really, each of us are within ourselves to heal ourselves. So these are wonderful tools, simple tools, and they really resonate for me in terms of the way that they work. Let's just touch on the shamanic journey, because I know that's one of the main tools, and we mentioned how shamans can go into these altered states, and that's what the shamanic journey is. So can you just say maybe just a bit about what that might look like when a
Sure.
shaman does that with someone?
Yeah, certainly. The shamanic journey is actually the only purpose is for healing. Everything is just for healing, right. As a serve for healing. This journey actually, I mentioned before, get access to this field of information, to this spiritual world, to this outer world, and with the purpose of finding the advice, finding the cure, finding the wisdom. It says this person has this certain ailment. So what can we do? It's only physical thing? It's more than that, a psychological thing, or something that this person needs spiritually. Right. And then that is the purpose of the journey. And sometimes it's misleading, and sometimes people go on this journey just for the reason of escaping, or right. to experience something right. psychedelic, right. or something like, oh right. my goodness, what is this? But actually, it's not the purpose of wondering.
It's much more purposeful than that.
It's the intent that you mentioned before.
It's more intentionality.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's for a specific purpose. So I've done this with clients, and I love to do it myself. So before you do go into a journey, you do have a goal in mind.
Yes.
You might not get the exact answer or guidance. You might not, but you set that intention and that goal. Yes. You might get even more than that very often, that I've found. But you're right, it's a way of accessing a greater mind and greater guidance that's within each of us, as well as a practitioner who might be more yes. practiced at it. It's not that they're any better or worse, maybe a shamanic practitioner, but they've done it more times. They've built up that muscle to really be able to do that.
Yes.
So let's talk about you as a practitioner, maybe a little bit about what you do and your background. You mentioned, I believe I heard you mention that you have your grandmother
great-grandmother.
Great-grandmother. Okay, so your great-grandmother was a shaman. Can you tell us a little bit about her, and is that the impetus? Did she pass that down to you, or was she more an inspiration?
Well, I think I mentioned before something that is transmitting, so it's a transmission, and wasn't a direct transmission. I never met my great-grandma, obviously. Only the information that I have from her is just because my grandma used to mention all the time that she was an herbalist, and people from the community or from other towns, from other regions, they came to see her, and she was what we call a curandera, a healer, okay. A curandera. And she used all these shamanic tools, all the plants, and she was healing people. Right. And that's the only information that I have. And then my sister, 10 or 12 years ago, she started exploring and practicing Reiki, and as a Reiki master, she got into this healing energy, right. And then little by little, she was getting into contact with shamanic work, and I think also she went to the ayahuasca ceremony and ritual. And then several years ago, I went back to Ecuador. Actually, my sister, she lives in Ecuador. And then she introduced me to that and says, well, you are the one that's supposed to have these things. And actually, I had an accident, and I that 2 years before I went to Ecuador, and I have a very heavy, severe pain in my neck because, the accident, maybe my head moves back. And so I have to take the Ipodoro, those kind of dangerous thing every 6 months because the pain. So I went to Ecuador, and my sister says, okay, what you have is this. And actually she diagnosed, or she pictured what the doctors told me before.
Got it.
And she got this, says right here. And then she just passed her hand, and it took, I don't know, probably 4 minutes.
Right.
And never, ever I use again. I didn't have any pain.
Nice.
And she said, the condition is still there, but it's going to be
Nice.
in balance. But you won't feel any pain anymore. And I don't have, actually.
So is that a little bit, gives us maybe, I mean, that's your sister, but that sounds like that is, the practice itself is in there, the use of hands, the use of feeling with the hands, incorporating sort of this energy healing like Reiki and shamanic tools and understandings. Is that what you do with clients as well? Maybe you feel into there where they might be blocked, and you can kind of sense where some of their issues are, and then you use intention in these tools.
Yes.
Is that sort of
yes, exactly what you described?
What it entails?
Yes. And then I was amazed by the result. And then I get into the shamanism, and then I explore, and I try to reconnect myself, because during my childhood I experienced so many things that we call weird things.
Right.
And I said, yeah, you're right. I may have the knowledge of my great-grandmother.
Right.
And
Surprise,
one day,
surprise.
yes,
Maybe
and one
not
day
surprise.
we did a ceremony, and we tried to reconnect, and was the
Nice.
first time I get in kind of semi-trance like kind, and I feel and I felt at that moment that something is opening in me
Right.
to see things. And actually my intuition, I use all the time my intuition, and I use these tools. For example, I use a candle for reading. I can see just the person right there by lighting the candle. And you mentioned that the intention of what? The only solo intention is to heal that person in any way. I don't know the way, but during that time,
You're
it has to show me, what's the way. And sometimes it's just psychological.
Right.
Sometimes it's just imaginary. Sometimes it's just something that an emotion that happened years ago.
Right.
And sometimes it's more traumatic.
Right.
But the candle or the moment, the connection is going to tell me what's going on.
That's exactly getting to the essence of it. It is the connection. It's that person's coming to you, so they're opening up a little bit. They're allowing themselves to be not vulnerable, but they put their guard down that we might normally have. And so you're able to enter into their private sort of energy world, and they let you into their emotions. And I think it's through that trust, that safe and sacred space that you create. And the tools are wonderful, but they're almost secondary to that rapport or that relationship. So just to say a little bit about what you do locally in terms of you're doing groups, teaching about this, offering people this direct experience. Anybody, it's open to anybody, all levels, and anybody can really understand it. And you certainly don't need any experience around it. So you offer groups at my center, as well as I'll let you also tell people about your store that you have in Highland Park.
Yes.
But I certainly invite people to come and experience, in a group setting, what you're talking about, so that you offer in a group setting healing and allow people a chance to journey and meet with these other states that we're talking about. So go ahead. How can people contact you?
Yes, I have a store in Highland Park. It's in 233 Raritan Avenue, the main avenue in Highland Park, the main street. And they can contact me to this website. It's purelight.llc.com.
Purelight.llc.com.
Yes.
Got it.
And also they can contact to by phone, 732-543-1183.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, and you mentioned that something that's very important is is a service. It's a service to
Right.
teach. I think one of my qualities, or my talents, is to share to share
Right.
the knowledge,
Nice.
to share the wisdom, the ancient wisdom. Everyone possesses anyway. Inside of us are the genes of the memory, ancestral memory of wisdom. Everybody can have access to that. What I'm doing is just making them realize that they're on their shamans, they are on their healers.
Right.
They can heal themselves
Right.
if they believe. And you mentioned a beautiful word just minutes ago, and it says trust. It's a matter of trust. Trust yourself, trust the person that is helping you in this healing process. And sometimes I said, trust the environment.
Right.
Trust these
Right.
healing tools.
Yeah.
Trust the music. Trust the surroundings. Trust the aroma. Trust the light of this candle.
Nice.
It's a matter of trust. Really,
And
really profound trust.
And it's interesting because if that's what is the impetus for healing,
Yes.
then you can see where people are not healing and maybe they're unhealthy and ill because they're out of sync
Yes.
with all of those things, with the natural environment, with natural tools,
Yes.
with others around them, and certainly with themselves. And that's part of that disconnect from the harmony and the flow of everything around us is at least part of, what stops people from healing or causes them to get out of balance in the first place. So
Exactly.
actually this has been wonderful and really informative. So I invite people to visit your website, again, purelight.llc.com, or to give you a call, and people can contact me. I can certainly point them in the direction of you as well. And as I said, Don Julio has some wonderful monthly groups and sessions at my center. So let me give you my information. So again, Michele Granberg. My center is called Center for Relaxation and Healing. It's located in Plainsboro. My website is relaxationandhealing.com. I also have a website which is michelegranberg.com, so you can find out a little bit more about what I do in private sessions, and my phone is 609-750-7432. So thank you very much, Don Julio.
Oh, thank you. It
for
was a
being
really,
here.
really pleasure.
Really a
And,
blessing to have you
it's
here.
a blessing. Thank you.
And I'll end with the borrowing from the words of Ellen DeGeneres, which is, be kind to one another. Thank you.